fine. Thank you all for being here with us today. It is so great to see that we've pretty much got all grade levels represented, which is fantastic. We got a couple people who are going to be first-year teachers this year. So, oh my goodness, good luck. We're so glad you're here with us. And we hope that even if you are going to be a first-year teacher or you're well into your 20th plus year teaching, that you will continue to reach out to. My name is Chandler Jordan, Program Director of SC Economics, but we also have on the call with us Amanda Stivelbauer, who is my partner in crime, and then also Jim Morris. He is our CEO of the organization. Our whole point and purpose is to support teachers in teaching economics and personal finance. So please put us on speed dial, put us in your address book for email. That is what we are here to do, is support you along the way. But we brought some fun partners on with us today. We got a little already started with some football trash talk, so I don't know really how today's going to get now. But we've got Mike and Ethan from Wise Financial Literacy. I'm going to let them, formally introduce themselves to you, but we've got a great program today. We in South Carolina at SC Economics have really embraced Wise over the last year and are really enjoying our time working with them. So we're great, and we're excited to hear them share out today of all of the great resources that they have for teachers in this state. All right, guys, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Chandler, so much, and Jim and your colleagues. I'm really grateful to be here. It's wonderful. My name is Michael Castrilli. I'm the Director of Financial Literacy at Wise, and along with me is Ethan Finkelstein, who is our program manager, and I would say it's so great to have him on with me because he's really central operations for Wise. So it's really a pleasure to be here today. I hope everyone stayed safe and continues to with the hurricane. But we've had a long, over the years with a relationship with many teachers in South Carolina, and we're delighted to continue that in a variety of different ways. And so I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint today. And just to give you an agenda of what we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk about the Wise Financial Literacy Certification Program, as well as our educator program. And hopefully you'll see is a nice orientation to what we offer and how you as South Carolina teachers are able to fit into that. So just a couple other logistical pieces. Ethan and I will be monitoring the chat as best we can. And if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. If I can't address it immediately, when I pause for questions, I'll try to scroll through, and Ethan may chat the question again in case I missed it. But feel free. This is, as interactive as virtual can be. We'll do our best, okay? So welcome. It's great to have you all. And I'm going to share my screen. Great. And there we go. Okay, everybody. So again, thank you so much for having me. All right, so specifically for South Carolina educators, what I thought we would do is this. Let me just give you a very brief overview of Wise so that you kind of know where we came from, who we are, just a brief overview, and then we'll dive right into the Wise Financial Literacy Certification Program. So our mission, we're a nonprofit based out of New York City, nonprofit based out of New York City. And basically we have two parts of our mission. One is building financial literacy and coupled with enhancing college, workplace, and readiness. And we do that in a number of ways. When you think the financial literacy piece, which we're going to focus on today, we have both our high school program and our educator certification program, which I'm going to go in depth about, but I also wanted to mention our MoneyWise program. I don't know if you're familiar with that. MoneyWise is a program we offer across the country in 12 cities in which we offer financial literacy education to domestic violence survivors. And they take a full 12-week program with us, with volunteers across the country to learn finance. As you can imagine, one of the big issues of domestic violence is financial abuse. So it really empowers these women to do amazing things. So MoneyWise is part of our financial literacy program. And happy to tell you more about it if you're interested. We also offer some college and career readiness programs. One is, and these may be programs, by the way, if you're interested after, I'm going to put my email up here. I know Chandler and Jim and everyone will be happy to give it to you. If you're interested in one of these, because as your teachers of economics, social studies, you'll see there may be something interesting to you. One is our quality of life innovation program. Basically, students pick a social issue, a community social issue, research it, and then compete with their other students across the country to have their research judged and then they make it to the finals. It's a really great program. It's a research program in which students win scholarships. We also have the WISE Institute, which is a career, college and career readiness program in high schools, where the kids learn they take internships, they learn about professionalism. It's really a nice, in some ways, I think of it as a speaker bureaus, where people, certainly here in New York City, they come down from Wall Street, they come into the classroom, and the students can benefit from their professional skills. And then we have the WISE Institute, which, the Euro Challenge, which may be particularly interesting to you. We do have some schools from South Carolina participate. That's a national competition of the European delegation, where students in high school, 9th and 10th grade, pick a monetary policy issue in Europe and then compete with one another they compete regionally, then they come to New York, and then they actually go to the embassy to present their monetary issue. It's kind of, I think of it as United Nations, but doing it with European, with economic monetary issues in Europe, in the Eurozone. So it's really fascinating. And it's a nationwide competition we sponsor. So those are just 3 other programs. I won't get into them in depth today, but again, if there's something that interests you, feel free to email me. So financial literacy. Let's take a look at what the WISE Financial Literacy Certification Program, and there may be teachers on here that are using it currently, right? And if so, feel free, as we go through, you can add, you can ask questions. And I would encourage you, as I go through this, feel free to ask questions, because doing all this Zoom during this pandemic, it's like, is to make it as engaging as possible is one of my goals. So hopefully, the only way to do that sometimes is through the chat. So feel free. Okay, so the program, what we do in the program is this can fit in any personal finance curriculum. Okay, it's one of the big things I like to say. So whether you offer a semester course, a full year course, the program can fit in a unit or a course on financial literacy. And one thing that's really important to remember is this program is really complementary to the wide variety of financial literacy content programs you're using already. For example, I saw that you'll have something from Next Gen next week, or August 12th. I think I saw something from SC Economics. It's a terrific program, and we see ourselves as real collaborators with those curriculums across the country. What we're going to do is we provide you the resources to what is going to be covered on our national standardized test, in which students are able to get our national credential, which is called Certified Financially Literate. It's the credential they can use for college applications. They also can use it when applying for jobs on a resume. So what we say the heart of our program is this program can fit in your current curriculum. We'll give you the resources and other items that you need. And students who pass receive this credential. We're delivered nationally. I'll talk a little bit about that. And we're approved approved across the country in a variety of Department of Educations, whether that's a Gold 1 standard. In many cases, it's approved. Virginia, for example, our certification is a required graduation course. So I'd say that it really fits across the country, and certainly as you look at South Carolina standards within the framework of South Carolina in terms of personal finance. So I think you'll find that it's a nice fit there as well. So where are we? We're in 49 states, actually. We've added South Dakota as well as Guam. So it's a national program, as I mentioned. There's one state we're not in, unfortunately, and that's Nevada. Still working on Nevada. If you can help me meet somebody there, that would be great. We'd love to be in 50, but we are in South Carolina, and our presence has been good over the years. I'll tell you a little bit more about how you'll get enrolled and so forth. But, we recognize the commitment in personal finance. And I know a number of you are, as Chandler said at the beginning, called some new teachers. Some teachers have been doing teaching for a while. For new teachers, I will say that, the program, I think, can fit really well. And I think as I go through it, I hope that you'll ask questions to say, what is it that we can offer in our classroom that would really fit well with WISE? Okay, so let's talk through the program features. What you register as a South Carolina school, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that and what it involves. What do you receive from the program? What areas do we support you in the program? How does it work? And that's what I want to go through now. We'll talk through some of the professional development we offer, our instructional resources, what's going to help you to actually achieve success in the program. We'll talk about the standardized assessment in terms of in-depth about what's included, how will students achieve this certification in financial literacy, and then our really, many ways, I think, cool awards and recognition programs that are offered to you and to your students and to your schools. And I think there's some really good opportunities for us to celebrate teachers and to celebrate students. All right, so I know I'm going fast, but I'll do two things here and then I'll pause and see if there's any questions in the chat. First, professional development, something you're all very familiar with, obviously, coming here today and completing this webinar series. So we also offer webinars in terms of looking at, I think of it as two fronts. One is how to teach personal finance in a unique or a way in which teachers are doing it across the country. Not basics, because obviously, I always tell our webinar presenters, teachers that are teaching personal finance, they've gotten the basics down, but more advanced topics, maybe a new simulation or game-based theory or content, and then also professional development for teachers in terms of their own personal finance situation or looking at personal finance topics for educators. So that's the webinar series. We have our annual conference, which is called Money Power. We offer it on election day each year. I mean, this year, I don't see it happening in person here in New York City, but we'd love to do it virtually. And I think we've done a number of virtual events recently and they seem to work pretty well, but I hope you'll be able to join us. One thing that's going to be nice is this virtual conference is a variety of professional development speakers and activities and resources that you can take back to the classroom. One benefit of the virtual program will be that people can attend across the country. I don't know, we always invite everybody to New York City for, we've had it at Deutsche Bank and the Federal Reserve and New York Stock Exchange, but this way, maybe you'll be able to join us for our annual conference this year. Again, it's on election day, and I'll be sure to send Chandler the invite and invitation. It'd be great to have you. And our events, we have a number of different events that we offer, one of which is coming up next week or 2 weeks from now, which is our scholarship. We'll have scholarship events, award ceremonies and recognition, and offer those again here in New York City. But lately we've been doing them virtually, which is kind of nice that you'll be able to participate as you look at your own, your own schedule and so forth. Hopefully it'll be as convenient as possible. Okay, so what instructional resources do you offer us? Okay, so let me just talk through these pieces, which are really important. As you're thinking about administering our national standardized pre-test, an optional opportunity, or our actual standardized test at the end of your course, we give you, we believe, the resources that you'll need in order for the students to be successful. So first, the teacher's guide. It's really a outline of all the topics that are included in the national standardized test for the students to achieve the CFL. I'll use that as the acronym so I don't keep saying the CFL, Certified Financially Literate credential. It's an outline of all the topics that are covered, and we'll look at those kind of broad-based topics in a moment, but gives you the details you'll need in terms of teaching, in terms of what is going to need to be taught. And this is where it combines really well with whatever personal finance program you're currently using. I mentioned Next Gen Personal Finance. It's just one of so many. I think it's amazing, but that's just one of many that you could use. And we support all. The Council of Economic Education obviously has amazing resources. The list goes on of what resources you can use in terms of complementing the program to ensure success of the students on the CFL. And the resources directory is in line with that. So what we offered there is a booklet of 300 links that connect, align to the teacher's guide, where you can pick and choose whether it's lesson plans, whether it's games and simulations that cover the topics that you're looking at for the program. So there's a number of resources in there depending on what you need in terms of either to complement or supplement your program. And then our money power, sorry if you can hear the sirens. Again, I live in Manhattan, so if you hear the siren, Chandler, make sure you give me a signal and I can tell everybody to be quiet out there. But apologize if you hear the sirens. But we also offer a money power, which is our practice test database. And the practice test database is something the students can use in which they're able to take practice questions in preparation for the standardized test. Really exciting development coming in the next couple months, where we're, to give you a highlight of it, we'll have an app where students can actually practice at home, as well as a whole newly developed practice test online website. So it's really one of these big enhancements of the program coming in the next few months, and I think you'll find it really exciting. And I do see, can you tell me a bit more about your teacher PD for students who do not want to attend college? Your teacher PD for students who don't want to attend college. So I'll address that question. Let me just say briefly that I think what you're asking is, if a student is taking a program and not attending college, they can use the credential in terms of being able to apply for work, whether that's career technical role or a business or what have you. We've found that student workplaces in the various states have found the CFL as a credential that they can use to be able to say, they've learned the essential skills in personal finance to be able to offer these, whether it's at their workplace, where it's something they can offer to the, whether if they're going in to be an insurance agent, or where they can learn more, they've understood the program or understand finance to be able to get to offer it to their role, their next role. Okay, and if I didn't answer the question, just put it back in, and we'll get back to it at the end of the session. Let me just see. Feel free. Is there any questions before I get into? Let me talk to you all about the pre-test, the financial literacy pre-test, which is an optional part of the program. You can choose whether you want to do the pre-test. Again, feel free to put questions in the chat as I go. I don't want to overwhelm with data. Okay, so as people feel free to put in. Okay, I don't see any right now, but maybe there'll be more as we get in the heart of this certification pretest. The pretest is really, I think, a great opportunity for students prior to taking your course to be able to assess where they are on the major topics of personal finance. So this can be a great use of getting a benchmark of student knowledge and insight as it relates to personal finance in the range of topics that are going to be covered. It's 50 questions, 50 multiple choice questions, which mimics the standardized test. So same format. We offer the test. You can implement the pretest in the fall, the spring, or even in the summer. So whenever you're teaching your course, let's say you're starting in a few weeks, if you wanted to offer the optional pretest at the start of your course, obviously we recommend, and in many ways it would be crazy not to do it right before you start instruction, so the students have no idea what you're going to cover, and you could really get an assessment of this, and use this as an opportunity to assess the students on their knowledge. And we found educators really love it because it offers you a quick peek in the major topics. For example, money management, credit, investing, or insurance. And you can see where are the students struggling the most, and where are they going to need the most help. And the best part is, obviously, after the standardized test, you'll be able to measure growth in these different areas. And that's a key area that teachers report back that they love, because they'll be able to see if students at insurance and investing were scoring 55% when they took the pretest, and now at the post-test they score 82%. You can see that growth in terms of student knowledge, and it's very specific. And this pretest, just like the post-test, the results are immediate. You'll be able to, as part of, as a registered program, you go into our dashboard, into your dashboard, it's your information, and you'll be able to pull the score report and see that, whether for a class or for individual students. Let me mention this piece right as I talk about student data, because it's important to me. I didn't mention to you, I was a teacher. I was an economics teacher myself here in upstate New York. So one of the things that I find about working with WISE is that I'm always thinking of it in terms of what is a teacher that I thought about. What did I get concerned? What are the things that annoyed me even? And some of the ways in which, as we all know in schools, sometimes things happen. So hopefully I'll address some of those things. One of the things that I think is really important to note is the data is yours, whether it's this pre-test data or the certification test data. We don't in any way use your data, sell your data, look across the country and rate states against each other. This is yours at your schools or your districts. And it depends. I know policies across the country in terms of data privacy are they're unique, but also we also have FERPA. We aligned to FERPA. We use the stringent private data privacy and security standards. But I always say that the data is yours. And of course, unless there's some requirement by the district to report it, again, you as a school, your school principal, administrator, you decide what to do. We don't use it in any other way. And I say that as we get started, even on the pretest. So measuring where students are in terms of these topics at the very beginning is something that you'll be able to use for your eyes, for your class, for your department, for your school. Okay. So as I mentioned, multiple testing dates, it's pretty flexible in that regard. All right, let me walk through the heart of the financial literacy certification test. This is a standardized test that as a registered school, you'll be able to offer to your students at the conclusion of your program, of your course, of your unit. And let me walk through this pretty carefully. I know the slide has a lot, but I want to kind of give you a perspective in terms of what's included, how do you administer it, and then what do you see as a result of that? So first off, we have both paper and online testing. I really encourage online testing because it's fast, it's simple. You'll be able to use this test in any environment in your schools. You may be wondering, okay, how do you do it? Well, it's an online test. You can use Chrome, you can use PCs, you can use Macs, Chromebooks, you can use iPads. So all technology is supported. And just in this time of the pandemic, we are also offering virtual proctoring, a virtual environment in which you can offer the students at home. So if there's something, I recognize that schools right now, we're not sure what's going to happen. Here in New York, certainly. I know it's different across the country, but I wanted to say that registering for the program doesn't mean you have to do it online in person right now. We're doing this virtual proctoring. So I can tell you more about it, but just to mention that to you. The test itself, 50 multiple choice questions, and it's timed. It's a timed test. And within those questions, we have multiple forms that we've created for the test in both the fall and the spring. And I think this is a huge advantage of our program, of our certification test. We newly create the test every year and make it into 3 forms. So if student A is sitting next to student B, there's 3 forms. Student A may get form A and student B may get form B, but they will be a little different with anchor questions. So psychometrically, it's valid in terms of a testing, but we offer you those 3 forms newly created every year. So you won't get into a situation where, the kids are taking the same test for 3 years in a row. Obviously the laws change, things change in the environment. You think about after the financial crisis, variety of things changed. I always think back to when I was teaching economics, the FDIC has increased, right? It was 100,000, now it's 250, just an example, right? So there's multiple forms for you to offer. And this plays into the fact that it's not one and done. Students can take the test, as I'll show, they can take the test first attempt, then if they fail, they're able to take it 2 additional times. The nice thing is the 2 additional times are different tests in the sense that it's one of those 3 forms. So it's not easier, it's not harder, it's the test, but the students will be able to, after you go in and help the student mediate the issues, you'll be able to have the students take the test. So it's a real, I think, a key, advantage of our program. It's not static. And then the survey, and what the survey is, it's a way in which you can measure student behavior. For example, at the end of the course, did students have a checking account before they started? Do they have a savings account after? How are they applying the lessons and the knowledge and the insights that you've given them. And that result, those data, are part of the behavioral survey that is also offered. And I have some results of that, some outcomes that I'll share in a little bit in terms of just examples of what happened last year in terms of how students in a national kind of look in terms of how they did overall with saving, budgeting, and others, okay? All right, so how do you administer it? I mean, I already started talking about setup and administration, but convenient testing windows, teachers will ask me often, like, when can I administer it? Ethan would tell you that we offer very flexible windows. So for example, let me give you reality here. For the pretest, we'll offer that pretest from August 1st through maybe even the end of November. So if you start your course in August, you have the opportunity to pretest, but some schools do trimesters. There's all sorts of other methods and mixes. So we offer you convenient testing windows. And I think the bottom line on that, without going into any detail, is I think you'll find that your test, when you're offering, will fit within our windows. Rarely do I have somebody call me and say, you know, it's not working within the window. So feel free really comfortable with that. Minimal teacher setup, I already talked about that. The secure browser. So the students aren't just on the computer and, you know, able to take the test and, you know, look up an answer midway through. I mean, they're on the internet. I mean, right now some of you may be on the internet looking up something, right? But the secure browser locks out all other apps. So the student can only take the certification test. It's also IEP friendly, okay? There's a number of different areas that students, you know, need. For example, extra time. We have a text-to-speech option. We have a read aloud. And we also have the test available in Spanish as well. We even have a test available in Braille. So I think you'll find it convenient. If you find the program, the rigor of it, the standardized test for the students is academically sound, will be able to fit within your program. And then I don't know, different schools have different systems, but we also have a capability for learning management system integration. So for example, let's say you were using Blackboard in your district, or maybe you're a professor or an adjunct or something like that. You'll be able to use that LMS integration within our certification program, so all the names can go in. Again, I know that's a little technical, but it is pretty flexible. Jennifer asked a good question about school being asynchronous with rolling enrollment. There's total flexibility on when you offer the test. The one component is proctoring. So if you wanted to offer the test, you know, week 1, week 2, week 3, the only requirement would be that you'd need a proctor to have the students take the test. So for example, the student, if they're at home, you know, they wouldn't take it on their own, but you would proctor it, and it's very flexible. You can use video equipment. Obviously in person, very simple, you'll be able to be in person proctoring the test. So I think you'll find that the students, if they enroll in any time, as I mentioned, the fall window and then even the spring window. I think our spring window, Ethan would be able to correct me if it starts in December or January. So if a class starts early, you'll be fine. I have a lot of confidence there, Jennifer. So thank you. Thanks for the question. Okay, results. I like this part because as a teacher, I think is important. You can, for example, so the students all take the pre-test, students all take the post-test, the standardized test. When you're completed, you're able to pull those results out of your dashboard immediately, which students like. I mean, or, you know, either you can look at the class as a whole and see how they did overall. And the score reports, which I'll show you in a minute, you're able to look at those different areas, the high tech, the topical areas that you're able to look at and see how the students did. And so the pass rate is high. The average score is not high necessarily, you know, 84%, something like that. So the test is rigorous, but we find that students that are prepared pass the test, pass this certification. And so therefore you'll see that I think, you know, the ease of use, and look at, I mean, I'm not trying to do, it sounds like a sales pitch almost, but, you know, as an educator myself, it's easy to use. I don't think you're going to find it to be, you know, you're offering the test. The biggest thing you're going to be concerned with is preparing the students for the test. but you're not gonna, I promise you won't worry about the technology. It's really simple. And then I mentioned the retakes and second retakes. So let's say the student takes the test in December, or let's use the end of the year, May, or for you all, sometimes you end even earlier, let's say April, and they take the test, they fail. Well, they're also able to take a retake or a second retake. The reason we offer this is, as I said, in some states, in particular in Virginia, it's a requirement for graduation. So obviously we have to have some flexibility with students if they don't pass to be able to at least opportunity to take and retake the test. So it's not one and done, just like our teacher test. Some of you may have taken it or will be taking it. If you don't pass the test, you're able to retake it. And in the case of the student certification test, they're different tests, the 3 forms. So I think you'll find this, as I said, rigorous. The academic quality is very good. And hopefully, you'd use the certification test as a way to measure your students' growth and give them the opportunity to earn this national credential. By the way, we've been doing certification. This is another thing I like about working as a nonprofit. This is what we do. Now, financial literacy, we're not a big business. We're not a corporation. We're not in it for profit. We're nonprofit. And I love that our founder and CEO, Phyllis Frankfurt-Perillo, I think of her as really a pioneer. I mean, this is what she believed in, and this is what we do. So I just say that as a kind of an aside that this, anything when you get involved with us, this is the heart of what we're doing. We're not looking, there's no, we are here to do personal finance. And I think that's exhibited in what you're going to find in the quality. So you're probably wondering topics. I just thought of this. One thing I'm going to do is I think we might be able to put this in the chat, which is our high-level curriculum outline, as well as our program overview. But if not, what I'm going to do is I'm happy to follow up with Chandler, and I will give you all our program overview, as well as our high-level outline of topics. Obviously, you want to see overall what we're covering. So I'll give you those handouts to Chandler, and she can either distribute them, or I can distribute them, or we'll put them in the chat. So I want to give you that because I know as teachers, we want to know what's actually covered. You're going to see, I won't go into depth on each of these, but you'll see that this program aligns to what you're doing in your personal finance class. I have no doubt. There may be one issue on here or topic that you say, I don't cover that in depth. But that's where we have the resources directory to tie into it. So let's say regulatory agencies, you say, I don't really cover a ton of that. You'll be able to see what we require on the certification test and how much it's worth, and something to cover that will be included in that. For example, I mentioned the FDIC, maybe, and I'm not giving a question, but let's just say what are people secured for in terms of their bank, their commercial bank, if they invest, it's 250,000, I believe, right? So these are the different topics. And then you may be wondering, okay, so what percentage of topics, test questions, and so forth? You have 30 to 35% with money management, personal finance planning. Banks and banking is 20 to 25%, credit 15 to 20%, and then insurance and investing. So both the pre-test and the certification test are multiple choice. Now, I had a polling questions, but for some reason when I launch them, it's putting them all in one. So I don't know how helpful that would be. Sorry about that. I just, I figured it may be easier to ask you in the chat for fun. What topic do you think, or what topic in your classroom do students struggle with? Even if you just look at the 4, money, we'll call it money, banks, credit, and insurance, and what's included there. What do your students struggle with? Maybe you can put it in the chat, and then I'll give you this, I'll tell you a little bit kind of what our results show. Okay, good. Insurance and investing, debt financing. Desiree says insurance and investing, good. Any others? Obviously consensus there. Ken says debt financing, number sense. Oh, okay, page talking about the younger kids, banking, insurance and investing, credit and investing, time value of money. By the way, Vicky, teachers struggle with that too, right? We all do a little bit, but teachers struggle with that concept too when they take our certification test. Number sense coin, okay, for the younger kids. Okay, so you'll see insurance and investing, or that topic. Yes, that's the topic we find that students struggle with on the certification test. You'll see that in the scores and the pre-scores and the pre-test and the post-test. You'll find that is a challenge. I think it's, I don't know about you, but I think it's because, students aren't, they're not worried about, term life insurance, for example. Not that we get into term life, I'm just using that as a high level example. They're not thinking about it. Now, if seniors in high school, they are maybe thinking about collision or automobile insurance, right? So insurance and investing is the challenging topic where students struggle a little bit. And of course, we're there to support them. And, but I think it's interesting that you guys, it seems to agree with everybody here in terms of what you say. Okay, it's time for America's favorite game show. I'm financially lit. Are you? Now, I'm sure Ethan is in there cringing. I can't see his face, but I'm sure he is because, it's kind of cheesy. I know, Ethan, I'm sorry. Financially lit. Are you financially lit? Okay, so I thought it'd be fun to show you three, thanks, Ethan. I thought it'd be fun to show you three questions that are sample test questions. So as I mentioned, we have some sample test questions additionally in a handout that we can send to you or put in the chat. But I wanted just to show you, and very simply, put your answer in the chat for each of these, and you can see what is this in honor of Regis Philbin of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I put it into Who Wants to Be a Millionaire type look and feel. Although I will tell everybody, maybe some of you, I did this presentation to a group of younger folks, and they're like, I don't know what Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is. Okay, well, it was significant when I was in like 1999, I guess. So anyway, I loved it. But here is the question. One good way to build an investment portfolio is A, use interest and investment dividends to cover everyday costs. B, increase money budgeted for fixed expenses. C, establish an emergency fund. Or D, make monthly deposits to an investment account. Exactly, it's D. And this is a relatively easier question, obviously, but this is the design of the question to show you kind of what it's going to look like for the student perspective. All right, look at that. Consensus across the board. Let me see. Okay. My computer froze. Okay, there we go. D. All right. The best way to reduce the cost of car insurance on a 10-year-old car is to A, drop the car's collision coverage. B, decrease the personal injury deductible. C, have the car serviced on a regular basis. Or D, change the premium payments from twice a year to monthly. I had to move my okay, so please feel free to weigh in. Can't phone a friend. That was the other, you could phone a friend. You could ask the audience, which I guess we're doing. And what was the other one? Oh, they would eliminate two, right? Okay, so those are the three areas. Okay. That's what I was thinking, Ethan. We could have people say, I want to phone it. Okay, yeah, exactly. Drop the car's collision coverage. Okay, again, I realize as teachers of personal finance, this isn't testing you, but I want to show you the design of the question. Okay, and the final question. Okay, after owning a $50,000 whole life insurance policy for 10 years, a person decides to cancel the policy. How much is this person entitled to receive? The accumulated savings or cash value of the policy, the face value of the policy, 10 years of premiums paid on the policy less a fee for canceling, or D, 10% of the $50,000 or $5,000. What do you think? Okay. All right. Everyone, A is that the final answer? All right. Now, can I tell you honestly though, when I do this in person, I've gone to conferences across. I wasn't in South Carolina. My colleague John Sands was, but we get a lot of people that kind of get confused over this one and get it wrong. So you know, that's what we'll say. And I'm not trying to be cheesy, but South Carolina teachers, they get it, right? So that's great. And by the way, can I tell you a little, have you all been, as educators, I find this very interesting. Have you all read the book, The Wisdom of the Crowds, James Sariaki? You know, he studied Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And as I mentioned, there were those lifelines that people could ask. One being that you could ask the audience, collaborate, or B, one of the other one was phone a friend. Do you know that people that phoned a friend got it right only 63% of the time? And wisdom of the crowds led to a 93% answer correct answer. So the purpose of it is that collaboration works and that all of us are better than one of us. So if we phone one person, we're not going to get as good of an answer as the wisdom of the crowd. So I thought that you'd all appreciate that. So it goes to show you whether we're in our departments or we're working organizationally, the wisdom of the crowds is a really great way to get an answer, and that can work for anything, right? But that's my teacher and me, 93% for that. And we just saw that if anybody was struggling, they may see other people say A, and this would be something that we agree with. All right, I'm having fun. Hopefully you are as well. Thank you so much for your patience dealing with my cheesiness on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But what does the score report look like? Hopefully you could see this. I was meaning to even blow it up a little more, but excuse me, the score report. So you can see here that we give very basic, but the information you need. You have the sub scores and the total score of 70%. This student got 70%, and you could see that at the bottom. I should have the kids doing better than 70%, but anyway, at the bottom you can see topic A, subscore A is money management, B is banks and banking, C is credit, and D is insurance and investing. You can see that you get both the student percentage correct and the school average, and then you can see and when we say school average, it depends on how you've calculated whether you're doing classes or the full school, but you can see how the students do both comparable to the class or the school, as well as how they do personally. And as I mentioned, if you look at the pre-test and the post-test, it's a great metric that you can share with principals, learning goals, parents, and guardians in terms of showing development. And teachers really, I have a teacher in Nashville who always tells me it's like her favorite part when the students sit down to do the pre-test. And she comes from a wealthier school. She always says that the kids come in and say, I know a lot about money, and they find that there's some tough topics. And then their pre-test to their certification test, there's an amazing jump in terms of how the students learn. So it's validation, but also verification, and as well looking at gaps in learning. The bottom right is really, something the students I found pride themselves in, and this is their certificate, their certification of being certified financially literate. They can take the certification. Students have used it in college applications, as I mentioned, on resumes, on LinkedIn, for saying that they've received this national credential. And there's a school in Michigan, Ferris State University, that if a student receives their CFL, a WISE certification in financial literacy, they're able to opt out of the personal finance requirement at the school. So I use that as one example where a university is saying the quality of which you're offering these personal finance courses and the validation that the student has passed the rigorous test is enough to say that the student has met the required information that they need. Okay. All right, and you're probably wondering, I would assume, how you register, and I'm going to get to that in a moment, and like what's it cost and so forth. So I'll get to that in a moment, but just to give you a preview. I want to tell you some of the recognition programs that are part of our program that teachers and students really like. One, obviously the credential. I've gone in enough about, what that means in terms of college and career readiness, and even for people that aren't going to college, for their being able to apply for jobs. Our Gold Star teachers recognize teachers where the students do well on the certification test, as well as the majority of the students pass the certification test. So we're trying to award teachers that are doing well in teaching personal finance, and we do that every year and recognize teachers, Gold Star teachers, at our National Money Power Conference. We also recognize schools, and our Blue Star schools are awarding schools that do very well on the certification test, schools that have a high pass rate, but also schools that offer personal finance to the majority of students in a grade. What we're trying to get to is have as many students as financially literate across the country, and we try to honor those schools that are doing that, as well as the schools that are doing really well in the program. And Blue Star schools come from all 50 states, 49 states. We've had Blue Star schools, that are also honored with a banner at our National Money Power Conference. We believe in the recognition piece. Financial literacy scholars and the ambassador awards go hand in hand. Our financial literacy scholars are those students that receive above a 96 on the certification test. And even further, students that receive 100, which is very rare, are what we call our centurions. And those students receive a graduation honor stole that they can wear at graduation. So the financial literacy scholars above a 96 with the recognition of a pin or certificate, and our centurions with the honor stole. Our ambassador award, which is right now in the throes of this process, it's a scholarship opportunity. Right now we're offering $1,000 scholarships where students apply that have received from the pool of financial literacy scholars. So any student that received above a 96 on the certification test can apply for the scholarship. The scholarship application, they answer a question on what it means to be financially literate. And in this time, actually, one of the questions is, why is financial literacy so important during this pandemic? The student applications are judged, and then our awards, our honorees will be recognized on August 20th, actually, in a ceremony, in a nationally, I'll call it televised, nationally internet viewed ceremony. Okay, I didn't say that right, but that's okay. All right, and then finally, our 100 best wise high schools teaching personal finance. We did have some from South Carolina this year. 100 of the best schools across the country teaching personal finance, again, looking at both the score on the test as well as how many students are certified with a slight weight also to socioeconomic status of the school for those that are offering free and reduced cost lunch. This is like, we've been doing this 8 years now. It's very exciting. I was disappointed this year. We were going to be at the New York Stock Exchange to announce it. We did that on April 27th, but we obviously couldn't do it because we couldn't do it in person. So we did it online, which was actually a lot of fun, worked out. And in some ways, we attracted an even better audience, as I was telling you with professional development, because people couldn't fly into New York City. We also fly some of the schools into New York City for the award ceremony. So let's hope next year we have the opportunity to bring people back. But we've done that at the Federal Reserve. We've done it at we've also done it at the New York Stock Exchange. We've done it at various banks down on Wall Street. The nice thing too is you receive a banner in which we recognize your school. Okay. Does this apply to small Christian schools? Yes, absolutely, Vicki. This is available to any school, all the recognition programs, any school across the country that are offering financial literacy, and that includes small schools, right? Some schools, we have a school in Nebraska that is a very, very small school, and the program's offered to 12 students who happen to be the senior class. So this, whether it's a small school, Vicki, or a large, massive school with thousands of students, it's available. We also, by the way, as part of the 100 best, just to give you one more final point on that, we also, within the awards, we have the top 10 large, the top 10 medium, and the top 10 small size schools. So that's like a subcategory of it. So maybe a school like this would help you, okay? Or school. Maybe a program like this would, if you have a smaller school, the students will be able to apply for all the awards and honors, as well as you, whether you're large or small. Okay, people will ask me the outcomes. What are some of the things you want to look at for the outcomes here? And Jim, I think you're, in terms of homeschooling, we could talk a little bit more about it. The key thing with a homeschooling is a matter of the proctoring. And we've done it in different states in different ways. So it's one of those things. So if someone's homeschooling, we have a conversation with you to determine basically what will happen is the school will sponsor the homeschool student, and the student would take the certification test at that school, proctored. Now virtually, I'm not sure how we're handling it with the homeschool students, although I assume it's the same in terms of the virtual proctoring. So there's an opportunity for that as well. Every student should be able to and certainly if they're financial literacy scholars, they should be available to apply for the scholarship opportunity. Thanks, Jim. Passing score 43% on the pretest. You can see, and this is 2018-19. We're still doing the data from 2019-20. Obviously, things have changed this year because some schools weren't able to offer the tests because they couldn't do it in person. But you can see the jump in score from 43% to 75% overall as a national score in terms of the average. So student, there is a huge jump between the pre-test and the certification test. And then financial behavior significantly improved. So you have using a spending plan from 36% before the program to 56%, 20% increase, which I think is pretty cool. So the students that you're teaching are increasing, creating, more than half of them now have a spending plan. Having a bank account and saving on a regular basis, from 41% to 51%, a 10% increase. And then I find this interesting, actually, that setting financial goals. First of all, 61% said they do it before. And then at the end of the program, 78% of students set financial goals. So the outcomes are always very impressive in terms of looking at the behavioral aspects of students as they change. The idea that more than half have a saving account after a program like personal finance is amazing. By the way, I didn't have personal finance. I went to school in upstate New York, and we didn't have personal finance. So I think the work you're doing in economics and social studies and history and the variety of fields that are teaching this across the country, obviously economics teachers here. And by the way, personal finance is also taught in economics here in upstate New York, upstate and city. So that's where personal finance is as well. We didn't have it. And I think it's so impactful, and I kind of wish I did have it. So what you're doing is really helping people to achieve great things, changing lives in many ways, right? Okay, so you're probably wondering this whole time, like, okay, what's the pitch here? What's the cost? So let me just walk through this and see what yes, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, see, New York and South Carolina, we get it right? Great. Okay, you're probably wondering, what does it cost and how do I register if I want to? What's included? So the teacher's guide is part of our program, okay? The resources directory you also receive. So if you register, you get the teacher's guide, you get the resources directory. The practice test right now is also included in terms of, both our practice test database that you're able to have all the students access in practicing for the certification test. And the other thing, our electronic certificates, I mentioned this is all part of something that you have available in terms of being able to get this right away. You don't have to pay for the certifications. Some schools, we had a school here in New York City recently, they did an award ceremony where the students that achieved the certificate, got the CFL, had a little ceremony. They had the certification documents there. And the webinars also part of the program. They're free. Now testing, typically we have a $10 per certification test and $12 with $12 for pre-test and certification tests. But here's the good news. Okay, here's the great news, actually, the terrific news. So what we'll offer to South Carolina is the program free of charge. Okay, it's and when I say free of charge, at no cost to you. So this program, right now in South Carolina, we have some grant funding to be able to offer the program to you at no cost, which is amazing, awesome, exciting for us. It's not the same across the country. Each state's a little different, but right now we're able to do that. And so it's terrific. And I love that, because I always worry sometimes at the beginning of these presentations, people are thinking I'm getting ready for the big, okay, here's all of it and more. And but no, you can receive this program at no cost for your school. And there's no like upcharge. I'm not going to in a year say to you, okay, yep, now we're going to charge you. So exciting. Ethan's going to put the link in the chat that you can register. I'll also have, I'm happy to send a follow-up email with the link, but feel free, you can register. Very simple registration. You enter your information about your school. There's a principal signature there. It's okay if you don't have that right now, you can still register. And then if anything changes, you can just change your registration. But it's really, check it out. I think you'll find once you register, Ethan, over the next few weeks, 2-3 weeks, we get you all the information you need. I know it depends on when you start school. You get access to all these different things and the dashboard. And if you want, the pre-test is optional. You can sign up for the pre-test and the certification test. You can sign up for just the certification test. One thing I'd also say in the time of this pandemic, if something changes, you don't have to, don't worry, we're not going to charge you or anything like that. You can just be in communication with us. The other thing, I didn't mention this. What do we recommend in terms of preparation? We recommend about 35 to 40 hours of a class in order to prepare for overall. So you guys are offering personal finance. This would be involved with a school that's only offering it at a very small level. So, that can translate 6 weeks, depending on whether it's every day or 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, in terms of preparation time. But you can offer it in your school, and I hope you'll consider doing it. Okay, I really do. All right, and the certification for instructors, I want to just wrap with this. It's currently offered to teachers in South Carolina as well across the country. This was launched in 2009. It's aligned to both state and national standards. I will tell you the rigor, the length, and the challenge of the question is not the same as a student test, obviously, right? There's 75 questions. It's a timed exam, but you'll see that we offer this certification just like the students as a way. It's called a certificate in personal finance, the CPF. Teachers can use it both as a credential. Teachers across the country have to. In Virginia, I'll use that as an example. For a teacher to teach personal finance, they have to offer our WISE personal finance, our certificate. They have to receive the certificate in personal finance from us. So the reason I say that is not to like brag or anything, but is to say that the quality of the certification test, I think you'll find it to be excellent. And as a teacher of personal finance, we provide you the study manual, you take the certification test, and just like I mentioned, there's no cost for the actual certification document. It's offered at $50 per certification test. Again, that's a national price across the country. This certification we have found, again, right now we're offering it virtually. Typically what will happen is we'll offer it in person, and in person, you can do this even at, I know the South Carolina Council on Economic Education is offering the certification. If, for example, you didn't pass, you could take this at your school, proctored by an administrator or a department chair or a fellow teacher that's not teaching personal finance. So we try to make it flexible, recognizing that you don't have to go to a testing center in order to do it. Okay. So I know it's a lot. I always like to end on time. I have like 3 minutes. I'm going to stay on as long as, I'll stay on for a few minutes after. Thank you. I know it was a lot of information, but I wanted to give you as much as possible to see about the program. I'm hoping that some of you will sign up for the program. I'll be in touch with you. Ethan will be in touch with you. I think you'll really, I think in terms of, offering this program, I think you'll find it to be excellent. I really do. I think I would say this, there's no like hidden element of this that I think you're going to be like really shocked by or anything like. I think you're going to really like it. The schools that we've had in this program, we've had schools for years and years. So here in New York City, it was founded here in New York City and started with like 7 schools. So as I mentioned, we're now across the country, and I hope you'll consider signing up. I also hope you'll consider writing me an email with any questions you have. Okay. Whether it's a question about the program or in-depth question, and I'd be happy to reply to you. Okay. Don't feel like, I'd rather you ask the question than feel like, oh, I don't know if that's quite right. Okay. It's a real pleasure. Let me just stop sharing and you can see my face a little bit bigger. There we go. Thank you. And I can see some of your faces, right? Thank you all so much for having me. I want to thank Jim and Chandler so much. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's great to be here. One other thing I'll say is it's so nice to be with the actual teachers, because so often we're in our nonprofit here in New York, and it's like to see teachers live is really great. That's one benefit of this virtual. We're not doing a teleconference. So thank you for your time, and thank you again for being here. And any evaluation, any feedback you have, we'll take it. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Mike and Ethan. I'm sorry, my internet's been going in and out, so I hope that you guys can hear me. Amanda is dropping the evaluation for our South Carolina teachers into the chat box, so make sure you guys fill out that evaluation. I feel feel
And
like
let me
I'm already
thank,
breaking up.
let me thank you. Thank you, Amanda. I didn't use your name as well, but thank you. Okay, I hope you know. Thank you too. I didn't mean to skip you there.
No. It is not like that. Chandler,
Thank
you are going in and out. So just from us at SC Economics, thank you to Michael and thank you to Ethan. This was a real treat. And it's always wonderful to get people on who are really enthusiastic and you can really tell they love what they're doing. And that's what we got from you guys today.
Thank you.
The more we can have people on who love and advocate for financial literacy, the better. I'm glad that we are really kind of on the same page between South Carolina and New York because that doesn't always happen. So I dropped the evaluation link in the chat box for you guys. I know that this is our final webinar in our summer series, which is just crazy to think about. But thank you guys for those of you who have attended one, for those of you who have attended every one. We really thank you for your commitment this summer to learning professionally and really kind of gearing up to what is next with our students. We still don't know. So obviously that evaluation is one of the hoops that we really need from everybody to make sure if you guys have completed the 5 out of the 10 that is required for our incentive this summer. That is one way that we track. So if you guys please go ahead and fill that out, that would be wonderful. Do we have any questions?
Let me add one thing as questions are being written. We've had a long relationship, with WISE, but you don't need to be going through SC Economics per se. You can do this. All these school districts and in some cases the schools themselves are quite independent. You can go straight on to WISE. We just know that we know what a good organization looks like. We want to make sure you know that these resources are out there. If you need help, then you can call us, reach out, and please stay engaged with us. But we'd like you to know that their resources are available to you. And again, every district and school is a little bit different. We'd love to get the whole state together doing one thing, but that doesn't always work. So if you are ready to run with it, then run hard and we'll help you in any way you can. Back to you, Amanda.
I had several questions about the evaluation. I just looked at it and you guys are right. There is not an August the 4th date on there. So if you guys would just select July the 28th, and I will filter through those based on when you responded. Obviously, if you responded today, Chandler just said she just added it, so it should be fixed. Perfect. Rena asked, how can we get this webinar info to share with her department chair? If you will follow up, Rena, with one of us via email, we record these, and so we can send you the recording of the webinar. Happy to share that.
You're great, Rena, too. Feel free if you need more information or any information about that, just let me know, okay?
Rena, you can email me. I'm happy to send it out to you. And I'll drop my email address in the chat box. Other questions? You guys are a very attentive audience.
Am I able to put documents into the chat box? Do you guys know?
You can. There's a link that you can click File.
Okay.
So you can put the documents in the chat box.
Okay. And I think I have a program overview. There we go. There you go. You can see basically like Rena, for example. Yes, happy to do that. And I'm happy to share the, I'll take out, I'll put it together for you. You all have grades. Thank you. No, my pleasure, Jennifer. Thank you. Yeah, and I just the program overview 2021 is the, is basically a voice track, not a voice track. Oh, did I send it privately? Sorry, I did. I'm sorry about that. You're probably all wondering, where did I sent it privately to Vicky. Didn't mean to do that. Well, although Vicky, I'm glad you got it. There we go. Let me just put these in here for you. Everyone's probably like wondering, what's he talking about? There we go. There we go.
Wonderful. Well, Michael and Ethan, thank you guys so much for being on with us today. Thank you for taking the time to share with our teachers and other staff around South Carolina. Thank you for all you do for personal financial education. And if there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and sign off, and we will send out those links to our participants as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, be in touch. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Chandler.